You're listening to Australia's national youth radio station, Triple J. For more info, go to triplej.net.au.
To the intervention of the ABC Board and the generous support of the Macquarie Bank, Triple J reluctantly presents the following 2 hours of unbiased, fair and balanced coverage of the week's topical issues. Would you please be upstanding for the national anthem? And your hosts, Stirling Addison LLH and guest, as we present Restoring the Balance.
And welcome to Restoring the Balance. I'm Stirling Addison. I would like to thank Richard Kingsmill for his show this evening. Richard, you are now free to go. And as you do every Sunday night, continue your tutorship of Australian Idol contestants. This is something he enjoys very much. He has also taken Mikey Goldman under his wing and is currently offering him career advice. Irony at its best. Speaking of irony will be Kingsmill and his enjoyment of whatever teen lesbian singing sensation Russia serves up in this year's Eurovision. He, of course, has worn out the tape on the Tatu video, which is no longer possible to get at Triple J. His tape and his tape only. So thank you, Richard. Coming up on the show tonight, Alan Jones, the most respected broadcaster in Australia, will be appearing on this show. Also, conservative rockers, the Wright brothers. The Wright brothers, that's right. People who actually are pro-George Bush and are proud enough to sing about it. We will be playing their song on this show, Restoring the Balance, tonight here on Triple J. Myself, Stirling Addison, and Spencer Penrose for the next 2 hours. Spencer Penrose. Spencer, lovely to see you again.
Well, thank you, Stirling. Lovely to see you again and angels on your body on this Mother's Day.
Mother's Day, yes it is.
On Triple J, a station familiar with the word mother. It's a word commonly used in a lot of the hip-hop songs that they broadcast right here.
Yes.
Usually Australian hip-hop, I've found.
Yes.
Recently. And a busy Mother's Day for me, obviously church this morning.
Yes.
As it is every single Sunday. Before getting home for the Sunday program, caught the tail end of the Julia Gillard interview.
Oh, yes.
With Laurie Oakes on the Sunday program.
Was she celebrating I Refuse to Be a Mother's Day?
Well, who's surprised that she's got free time on Mother's Day?
Yes, good point.
Not me.
Yes.
Not you, not Senator Bill Heffernan.
Yes.
A good interview, but I didn't get time to catch up with my mother this morning. As you may or may not know, my mother and I, very close, my father being a stoic man in a house where physical touch was banned.
Banned, yes.
My mother was very big on cleanliness. I mean, some could say fanatical, as a matter of fact, with her water cures and regular colonic hydrotherapy.
Yes.
Other kids will be worried about getting the belt, but I was always worried about her getting the water bottle, as a matter of fact. So I didn't get a chance to catch up. The commute, for a start, is outrageous.
Yes.
To get to my mother's house. So, I mean, I had a number of things on, but I know she had lots of visitors during the day, my brothers and sisters and what have you, who kept on blocking my driveway because she lives right next door. So that was awkward and annoying, but I didn't get to see her. How about you? How was your Mother's Day?
It was a wonderful day. We had brunch and I gave my mother a gift that I'd be happy to give anyone in Triple J who wants it. I'd run off a copy. What I did a week ago was record in a series of English upper-class accents my mother's favourite passages from Noel Coward and P.G. Wodehouse.
She would have loved that.
Yes.
She would have really enjoyed that.
Yes.
In various English accents.
Yes, doing the butler, if a butler was called for, in the appropriate Yorkshire accent. Scottish accents are also in there.
For the help.
Yes, as the occasion demands. Noel Coward bon mots, that sort of thing, litter the passages that I've recited.
And was there any kind of, and I know it's hard being a one-man show, but was there any kind of Gosford Park, Robert Altman overlapping dialogue?
Yes.
Did you get that detail?
Yes, the studio engineer who laughed uproariously at many occasions.
It still works, all that stuff.
Yes. He was greatly amused by all of it. I of course, always take a moment on Mother's Day to remember and reflect on my wet nurse, who saw me through a very difficult first 6 years of my life. and I do thank her for that, who she is no longer with us. I don't mean she's dead, she was sacked. For that itself is a story that is not as amusing as me doing a series of English upper-class accents, which I could play at the end of the show. We will see. But speaking of a Mother's Day causing great happiness, and of course, Triple J, the policy here is to celebrate Single Mother's Day by giving out free government money, crack cocaine, pre-mixed alcohol.
Tickets to Splendour in the Grass.
Yes, or any other sort of sex show, that sort of thing. We wanted to talk about happiness because shortly we're to speak to Andrew Norton, who's a research fellow at the Centre for Independent Studies and is the editor of its policy journal. He's contending that we are moving from a nanny state, which only A Current Affair and Today Tonight have been brave enough to highlight. Four Corners, of course, will not go near it because they are part and parcel of this inexorable march, it would seem.
The true rebels always walk alone.
Yes, hand in hand in this case. Yes. Andrew Norton is contending that we are being moved towards a happiness state, that happiness is being legislated, that happiness is becoming embedded in government policy as a form of social engineering emerging where else but from the left. But from the left.
Well, I think that most Australians are living in a happy state after 11 years of glorious leadership.
Yes, the poll indeed was lifted in March 96. It's as though the nation voted to prescribe itself an antidepressant.
That's true.
Yes.
Absolutely. Or indeed a little blue pill.
Yes. Yes.
Which some of us may or may not need. Knock on wood. Pun intended.
Yes. Well said. Well said. Indeed. So we are asking at the moment our talkback question at the very top of the program before we speak to Alan Jones a little later on, and that is very exciting. Our talkback number 1300 0555 36, 1300 0555 36. The SMS is 1975 7555. What makes the Triple J listener happy? And the caveat here, do not mention marijuana.
No chemical substance, no hallucinogenics.
Yes.
And I know that's the easy answer.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll get many of them.
If we have a moment's silence, Spencer, we can hear a million phones being put down. So we don't mean marijuana. We don't mean... What makes you, the Triple J listener, happy?
Well, I mean, if you're asking me, I mean, I think I've got a friend here when I say the victory of Sarkozy.
Yes.
In the French elections.
Yes.
Wonderful to see a Conservative triumph.
Yes.
Once again, foreshadowing the victory later on this year. I'm sure of it. Here in Australia.
Yes.
Better to get rid of that wimpy commander of retreat, Jacques Chirac.
Yes.
Let's go with Sarkozy.
Yes.
This is great news for all of us.
He is a fellow traveller and fiercely, as we are on this program, as if there was any doubt, pro-American, fiercely pro-American.
Yes.
And a committed partner in the war against terror.
And interesting to see the celebrations, the victory celebrations, Betina Arndt performing for Sarkozy.
Who would have thought?
And some riots happening at the same time. I'm pretty sure, I mean, that could have been a response to the performance.
Yes,
I know that once I step into Betina Arndt territory, Richard Kingsmill rushes to do a defence.
Yes.
I mean, you play with the ball, you get the horns.
Yes.
But nevertheless, a wonderful victory in France, and also great to hear the Pope. Pope on the ropes, as I like to say, not too happy about the rise of evangelical churches around the world.
Yes.
Thrilled to hear that.
Yes, you are. You are happy to hear that. Yes, he was. Now, I don't know if you actually saw the footage of the Pope. Now, we recall that the Pope, according to him, reluctantly served in an anti-aircraft battery with the Nazis. So he's anti-abortion, anti-gay marriage, and anti-aircraft. This Pope.
Yes.
He did appear under a giant eagle in Brazil. He appeared there under a giant eagle. And I guess old habits die hard.
That's true.
Yes.
Absolutely. And preaching to the young people in Brazil against sex before marriage and also against drugs.
Yes.
The Catholic Church, the finger of the Catholic Church and the pulse never far apart.
No, exactly. Well, he is a good ambassador for celibacy because certainly nothing would cool the lustful ardour of any Brazilian teenager more than the face of the Pope. Surely there's a passion killer right there.
Good point.
A visit from that old man.
Absolutely.
Yes. So surely, we thank the Pope for his good work there. Yes, and I mean that sarcastically. What makes you happy, Triple J listener? The number again, 1300 0555 36. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. This is Restoring the Balance with Spencer and Stirling. Reorienting the left spin, found for 7 days a week on the ABC, except for this 2-hour oasis of truth.
Oh, it's the conservative sweet cherry on the cake of Radio Saigon that we call Triple J.
Yes, and let's not forget our own Miss Saigon, the voice of the fanatical and despotic left-wing regime of Vietnam, Tranny.
Oh, yes.
Yes, who I'm sure if you looked closely at everything she broadcast here on Triple J, they are in fact a call to arms for sleeper agents.
Coded messages.
Coded messages, yes. A kind of Hanoi Jane. In our own midst, of course, very much at home on the ABC. We're asking this evening, what makes you happy? We are speaking to Andrew Norton, who is alleging, we think correctly, that left-leaning think tanks are calling for government to reorient policy towards making us feel better.
It's a policy based more on feeling than fact.
Yes.
And it's dangerous.
And we're asking in that vein, we will be speaking to him shortly, we're asking in that vein, what makes you the Triple J listener? You must not mention marijuana. Marijuana cannot be mentioned. Aaron from Melbourne, good evening.
Good evening, fellas. How are you?
Very well. Aaron, what makes you happy?
Oh, I was just driving home on the way back from a very long Mother's Day and just thought, heard you call out and just thought, I'm driving home to my girlfriend's smiling face and a big cuddle from her, which both make me very happy.
Yes, we'll give everybody a moment to wipe the vomit off. Aaron, how long have you been seeing this girl, and do you intend to marry her? Does she have a career?
God, that's 3 very large questions.
Answer them quickly.
I've been seeing her on and off for 3 years.
Yes.
Don't ask me whether I intend to marry her.
Why not?
She's probably listening right now.
Yes.
What's the third one? She's going to have a very successful career in chiropractic. So.
Yeah, very successful career.
Agree with that.
Well, who'll be the judge of that? Yes.
We'll see.
Yes.
Are you living in sin, Aaron? Are you sleeping?
No comment.
I hope that you're sleeping in separate beds.
Oh, definitely.
Don't want to get her in trouble, after all.
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yes.
So big shout out to Jess. I love you.
Yes. Could you not have picked up a mobile phone and not bothered us with that nauseating display of public affection? Aaron, of course, means Ireland. Another name for the island of Ireland.
Right.
And how he actually got to air is a great mystery. Thank you, Aaron. Give her a cuddle from us.
Using the taxpayers' money
Yes.
to festoon the airwaves with some vomitous romantic talk.
Yes. You get a room, you two.
And don't do anything in it.
Why? Well, exactly. Why we had to endure that phone sex is beyond me. Brad from Williamstown, not Williamtown.
Williams.
Williamstown.
Spencer.
How you doing, Brad?
Very well. Yourself?
We're also well. Brad, how was your Mother's Day? How has it been? Do you have a mother?
I do have a mother, yes.
Yes. Is she married?
She is married, yes.
As mothers should be.
I was born in wedlock.
Excellent.
Excellent.
I do have a son, though.
You do have, is the son born within the sacred confines of marriage or outside?
No, he's a bastard child.
Bastard child.
Illegitimate.
I will pick family first up on this, Spencer, for not tying the baby bonus to legitimate births, if you will. Would it not be sound policy to make the baby bonus only payable to couples who are married?
I think this is a fantastic idea. And I'll talk it over with Brian Houston. I think that is the way to go.
Yes.
I like that. And also the childcare rebate as well.
Yes.
Only to married couples.
Only to married couples.
This is brilliant. Thank you so much for inspiring us, Brad, to those giddy heights.
Well, it does reek of discrimination, boys.
No, not at all.
Not discrimination. I mean, what you have already discriminated against your child by bringing him or her into the world outside, as I said, the sacred confines of marriage.
So we should have kept him in an unhappy relationship.
Sacred one nonetheless.
Sacred but unhappy.
Yes.
Yes.
We don't have a choice. Happiness is not a right, Brad.
But how can you give something that you don't have?
Oh, you're getting philosophical on us. Yes.
Brad, what makes you happy besides flouting the word of the Lord?
If my son's happy, I'm happy.
Yes.
The simple things in life. Beautiful day, good friends, family.
Yes. Can he truly be happy and illegitimate at the same time?
I believe you can.
Will he be plagued at any point, do you think, by his illegitimacy?
Probably only when he hears people like yourself carrying on.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes.
A bit of guilt might creep in there.
Yes.
And was he born with teeth, Brad?
No, he wasn't born with teeth.
Yes.
Funny about that.
The night of the conception, do you remember at what point you put down the pre-mixed bourbon and cola, turned off Bathurst, and tapped the shoulder of your partner? Do you remember that moment?
I do recall the night, funny enough.
Yes.
And there was a large amount of bourbon.
Yes.
And some other substances involved.
Excellent.
Surprise,
yes.
surprise.
Yes. This your illegitimate son will have to endure every Mother's Day.
As you'd expect with an illegitimate child.
Yes, yes. He's in good hands.
Yes, he's in fine hands.
Thank you, Brad from Williamstown.
Hands
Okay,
without a wedding
pleasure.
ring on
Yes.
them.
Hands, yes, unencumbered by the golden band. Simon from Brisbane.
How you going?
Simon, were you born within wedlock?
Yes, I was.
Excellent.
Good to hear.
And what makes you happy, Simon from Brisbane?
I really enjoy a little bit of logic, a bit of common sense these days.
We all do. It's as somebody once said, the thing about common sense is it's not very common.
That's right. And I gather that this show, Restoring the Balance, would be a feast for you then today, Simon.
Of course.
Yeah.
Would be almost too much common sense, as if there were such a thing. What?
Common sense brings to mind the latest Paris Hilton case.
Yes.
Absolutely brilliant ruling.
Yes. Go on.
Well, 45 days in the slammer for Miss Hilton. I can't be more happy.
Go on. Why?
Why? Because she thinks that being a socialite and being a bad role model, an unchristian role model,
Yes.
is a good thing for society. This is not a good thing at all.
It does send shivers through, and I'll be quite honest here, Simon, my end of town, meaning that great wealth is no guarantee of immunity from prosecution. And I think justice needs to be tempered. The asset wealth of the defendant needs to be taken into consideration when sentencing is passed. I would urge any magistrate or judge to keep well in mind the wealth of the defendant.
But I think Simon brings up a good point where some of her lifestyle choices,
Yes.
some of her sexual behaviour,
Yes.
that we've all seen on the internet and what have you, eventually karma will catch up with you. And if not the karma police, then the real police.
Yes.
And that is why she is in jail for 45 days. And I also think that maybe she's a little disappointed that some of those closed-circuit cameras
Yes.
aren't night vision cameras.
Yes.
If you know what I'm saying,
Yes.
Simon.
Yes.
Oh, she can't be forced to make a profit off crime now.
Well, that's true. That's true. We must point out Kingsmill got rather excited at the idea of, he kept referring to female prison shower scenes.
Yeah.
And pillow fights and things like that, and rioting female prisoners being hosed down.
I did see a film called Big Boob Lesbian Cops on his desk, and I'm not sure what that was.
Oh, ironic enjoyment again.
Yeah, no, he was
Yes.
just enjoying it to have a laugh at it.
Yes,
That's
yes.
what I'd heard.
Yes.
What makes
Sounded
you
like-
happy?
Yes. Thank you for that, Simon from Brisbane.
Thank you.
This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. The talkback number 1300 055536. We're asking the Triple J listener, what makes you happy? And not marijuana. Not marijuana. What makes you happy? This is on the back of an article, The Happy State by Andrew Norton, who is a research fellow at the Centre for Independent Studies and the editor of its journal Policy. And he has identified the fact that left-leaning think tanks are calling for government to reorient policy towards making us feel better.
Right.
Of course, nothing sounder than rooting your policy directives in feeling rather than fact. This is mummy versus daddy, as we talked about last week.
Part of Kevin Rudd's toolkit budget.
Yes.
What an appropriate name.
Tool, yes.
Tool.
Yes, from
Tool
Rudd the
kit.
Dud.
Yeah.
From Rudd the Dud. We've skewered him with that, and we continue to do so. Andrew joins us now. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
For coming in. Andrew, you're we hope, alerting everyone to this.
Well, I think it's the new trend for more interference in our lives that
Yes.
a few people have identified ways they think will make us happy, which includes higher taxes and controls on how many hours you can actually work. Shouldn't be allowed to work Sunday nights.
Which is wrong, of course. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but the French, under a left-leaning president, introduced a 35-hour week, which proved disastrous, did it not?
That's exactly what people like Clive Hamilton want in Australia.
Yes. Now, with the aim to make us happy, is this social engineering gone mad, the belief that you can legislate happiness?
Well, I think it is. Happiness is a very personal thing, and your listeners are calling in with some pretty eccentric ideas.
They're very happy listening to the show.
Yeah, so this just shows it's a very variable thing, and I don't think anyone can legislate to make you happy.
Yes.
Is the key to happiness, I mean, this is certainly where I'm coming from, and I dare say, Stirling,
yes,
where you're coming from, is the key to happiness affluence?
Clive Hamilton would tell you it's not, that he'll tell you that, over the last 50 years, incomes have quadrupled, but happiness is flat. Same average now as in the 1940s. So he draws from this that more money isn't making us happy and we should stop pursuing more money.
And you also say that a lot of people assume that a working week with less hours means that people will be more happy because they have extra time to spend with their families and what have you. But that isn't necessarily the case for all. For the Triple J listeners, explain what a working week is, and also how we can find a happy medium.
Yes,
good
question.
Most people work 35 to 40 hours a week, and that's what people like Clive Hamilton from the Australian Institute think everyone should work. But some people work 50, 60, 70 hours a week, and he says they're neglecting their families, and this is making them and their families unhappy, so they should be required to go home after 35 hours.
Yes, and how would this be enforceable? Would hired goons, turn up at a workplace and frog march?
I think you'd have to do something like that.
Yes. Where is this legislative happiness agenda first been identified?
Well, it's actually coming out of Britain, and particularly Blair's government. They've actually set up a wellbeing working group to look at new laws they can pass to make the British people happier.
Yes.
And I think they're a hell of a lot happier now.
Of course they are,
with
yes.
the news this week.
Yes.
That is stepping down.
Well, certainly Australia's happiness index would have spiked March 1996, surely.
Well, I'm sure it did, yes.
And continues. It's like the mining boom. There's a smiling boom going on, you could argue, unabated.
Indeed, 11 years of it.
Yes. Now, Andrew, where do you stand? Are you for this as a movement? Are you against it? Are you happy to alert people to it, or are you a fifth column, as it were, working towards its realisation?
No. I think people should be alerted to it that, forcibly working 35 hours a week only won't make you happy, that there's no evidence to support this, so definitely should oppose it.
Now, is Rudd planning to introduce this, if he does get into power, along with forced collectivisation, re-education camps, mass slaughter of intellectuals, this sort of thing that Rudd is planning? Is this part of it also?
I'm sure it is, yes. That they're already proposing more industrial relations regulations, so 35-hour week is bound to be in there.
Yes. Have you ever spent 35 hours in a week doing anything of particular note?
Oh, of course, yes. I work more than 35 hours every week, unlike Triple J listeners.
Yes. What it is, Spencer, I think you'd agree, is a direct and religious attack on the Protestant work ethic.
It certainly is.
Obviously from a side of politics that is avowedly atheistic. Would you agree with that, Andrew?
I think so, yes. It's a big attack on Protestants.
Yes. So should we Protestants, should we be alarmed? Does this signal a new dark age?
Possibly, yes, it does.
And should we go into hiding, or should we assassinate Kevin Rudd?
Oh, I wouldn't go that far. Go into hiding. Yes, it's good advice.
The ALP clearly this week stole much of its educational revolution policy from the government. Sadly,
yes.
It was very interesting to see. Can you see do you think that this idea has been, as well as that, stolen from the government, from the ALP?
I don't think it has. No, it hasn't.
Right.
But the ALP can keep this one.
Is it possible for everyone to be happy? Will we ever see a day?
No. Some people are just born miserable.
Yes, they vote ALP.
There
is a causal link that they refuse to identify.
Well, this is in fact serious research. Left-wingers are less happy than right-wingers.
Say that again, please, for the adult who may have missed it.
Left-wingers are less happy on average than right-wingers.
And this can be statistically supported?
Statistically supported, true in every country we've looked at.
Can you expand on that?
Well, it's hard to know whether people become left-wingers because they're miserable or they become miserable because they're left-wingers, so we can't work out which way it's going.
Well, is that because being right feels right?
Possibly, yeah.
Yes.
How much of this can be blamed on emo music, and when can we start doing that?
I'm not quite sure how much. Lots.
Yes. Are we progressing towards a point, if we have, or when we have another 3 years of Howard, when we will reach absolute happiness? A saturation point of happiness?
No, I don't think so, no. I think the difficulty with this is that happiness is so flat that nothing seems to affect it, so Howard, Rudd, people will be much the same.
I disagree. I disagree. And I would need a 12-hour show to point out the differences between those two. Andrew, thank you very much for coming in and pointing out to us the dangers of well, you wouldn't call it the nanny state, would you? You'd call it the happy state.
Happy state.
The happy state. So are we one step further, would you say, under a Rudd government of having not chlorine put in the water or fluoride put in the water, but antidepressants?
Antidepressants in the water, that's a great policy.
Yes.
Not even water, Kool-Aid. Yes. I'm sure.
Yes,
indeed.
The
order of the day.
You have been warned. Thank you, Andrew Norton, Research Fellow at the Centre for Independent Studies and editor of its policy journal, warning us about the happy state. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J.
Restoring the Balance, Bias Watch.
It is Bias Watch. It is a favourite saying of ours on this show that evil prospers when good men do nothing.
We are spoiled for choice on the ABC when it comes to Bias Watch.
Yes, and we are good men doing something to combat evil, that evil being bias that infests every nook and cranny of the ABC. We've been forced into action. We said nothing when the hagiography of Curtin was put to air. The just a shameless celebration of a dangerous left-wing radical who took control of this country during wartime, during World War II, and we did ask if the ABC was willing to make a similar mini-series about an actual respectable wartime leader, John Howard. Will we see the mini-series Howard, who is our wartime leader and is steering the ship of state through perilous waters?
I dare say not.
I dare say not too, but we will see about those on the left side of politics. Yes.
That's right, Curtin.
Curtin, yes.
And what's on tonight? Bastard Boys.
Bastard Boys. This, of course, has forced us to blow the dust off Bias Watch. It is, of course, a celebration of union thuggery on the docks. We see Jack Thompson.
Jack Boot.
Yes, Jack Boot Thompson, very well said. Clearly, widescreen technology is sufficiently advanced to get Jack's face back on TV.
Right.
Him being in a very good paddock for a long time. This is a celebration of union thuggery, and I must commend Michael Duffy from the Sydney Morning Herald, who wrote an article of piercing clarity on this. And I say piercing clarity because with a surname like Duffy, he would spend 95% of his time alcoholically intoxicated.
Sounds like it.
It is an Irish surname, of course, but look, he shook off the whiskey long enough to write what I think is an excellent article in the Sydney Morning Herald. And he asks, where in this biased depiction of wharfside union thuggery will there be depictions of what is well known on the wharfs over many years, the looting, the go slow campaigns, the strikes, the notorious aiding of the enemy during World War II, where wharf workers refused to load cargoes bound for the troops in the Middle East.
Right.
Will there be an acknowledgement that before Patrick's did a magnificent job in cleaning up the union holiday that was work on the docks? Will there be any mention of the crane lift rate being one of the lowest in the OECD?
I dare say not.
There won't be.
No, not on the ABC.
There won't be.
No.
Yes.
Just a celebration of Bastard Boys. That's the way they celebrate Mother's Day.
Yes.
By having that word float through the transom on ABC at 8:30 at night. That's not right.
Couldn't have said it better. So Bias Watch, there it is.
And speaking of the family unit, they tend to take it not very seriously at all on the ABC. The new inventors on whatever. It is a Wednesday night.
I wouldn't know.
A few Wednesdays ago, anyway. Hosted by
James O'Loughlin.
Aha.
Irish.
There we go.
Yes.
I mean, that speaks a world. He wrote a book a couple of years ago called A Month Full of Sundays.
Yes.
A whole bunch of chapters about things to do on Sunday in Sydney. None of them involving going to church. Amazing.
Yes.
But on The New Inventors a few Wednesday nights ago, they featured a toilet training device for boys called the Wee Target. You hang it in the toilet bowl and the young boy aims for it as a bit of a game.
And hopefully aims at a picture of Kevin Rudd.
You would think so.
You'd hope so.
You would hope so.
Yes.
Encouraging the boy to concentrate and aim as a bit of a game when using the toilet. Presumably, this stops the young boy urinating all over the floor.
And number twos go where? Do they aim for Wayne Swan, the Shadow Treasurer?
They should do, Julia Gillard.
Yes.
But what would she know about kids?
Well, exactly.
Now, shouldn't the father be teaching the boy all this? I mean, really, let's think this through. Perhaps the father isn't around. The New Inventors, encouraging a new kind of family unit, methinks, one where the single mother is the norm, or perhaps one step even further. I put it to the ABC that this is clearly a toilet toy invented for lesbian couples.
Yes.
Raising a child who have no man around to teach a young boy how to urinate like a man.
Yes.
The New Inventors. Tisk, tisk.
Yes, yes, indeed. Yes, supporting Lesbianistan. I'm going to coin that phrase now. People who work at the ABC nurture in their breasts the hope that one day lesbians may impose upon Australia a lesbian dictatorship. And clearly, this is part of it. This is one step down the road to a lesbianocracy.
This is the red flag.
Where the male phallus will be illegal. You will need a permit to possess one. And we see the thin edge of the lesbian wedge here. Well spotted. Well spotted.
Thank you.
Bias Watch has done it again. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J.
What was it like writing an album full of songs that didn't go for over 5 minutes?
Miss J and the Doctor. It was quite a relief to realise that when the album did come out that you wouldn't be bagging it, and that was Miss J and the Doctor.
It's on weekday mornings from 6 on Triple J.
Restoring the Balance. Supporters of the US Alliance.
We just on the back of the promo for the breakfast show here at Triple J, we make no secret of the fact that we would prefer that you listen to commercial radio station breakfast shows whose bonhomie and witty repartee is never forced, and they are shows that entertain listeners and inform them by means of commercials as well.
That's right. The only doctor you should be listening to is Dr. Dan.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying.
Yes,
is he a real medical man?
It doesn't matter.
Let's do some research. Let's find out.
Yes. We're asking this evening, what makes you, the Triple J listener, happy? We do not mean marijuana. The phone number is 1300 055536. Shane from somewhere. Shane, where are you from?
The middle of everywhere.
The middle of everywhere. Where
in
exactly
New South
is
Wales.
that? New South Wales. Whereabouts in New South Wales?
Ganmain's the name of the town.
Excellent. Do you know who your local member of parliament is? Federal member?
No, I'm a traveller.
A traveller?
A drifter?
A drifter.
Yes. A twig on the shoulders of a mighty stream.
I'm sort of like a John Rambo, but different.
John Rambo was a hero.
No, he was a drifter to start off with.
He was a man who simply wanted a cup of coffee.
Damn right.
Yes.
And bear in mind that Rambo's real name was John Howard. Yes. That is true.
Yes.
I asked
Man of Steel.
Not much more.
Shane, what makes you happy?
Well, apart from you guys...
Yes.
People walking into polls.
People walking into polls. Do you enjoy the pain of others? Is there an element of schadenfreude?
Oh, there's possibly a bit of that. I enjoy the pain of others to the extent of the pain of myself.
Yes.
Speaking of funny polls, there was one today, the seat of Bennelong.
Yes.
Saying that Maxine McHugh, if there was an election today, would take the seat away from our Prime Minister.
Hilarious poll, that one.
Very funny poll.
Can I remind you of polls that aren't as funny? The fascist who ran the Catholic Church for some 30 years. The Polish man.
I know the one.
Pope John Paul II. Dictatorial. Thank you, Shane.
Pleasure.
Mind the polls. Kirsty from Port Macquarie. Or Christy. Christy.
Yeah.
Christy, what makes you happy?
I think living life to your third perspective.
Yes.
I don't exactly know what you mean by this, Christy.
I mean, well, most people look at things twice, but no one really looks back a third time.
Well, who has the time?
Well, when you look at the third time, you always see something different.
Such as, can you give us an example, Christy?
Well, it can be anything from as small as finding faces in your carpet to
Yes.
to something more significant, like finding a lawn, like the size of a backyard, just lawn, in the middle of the city, completely surrounded by 4 brick walls.
Yes. Christy, are you a member of either the Greens or the Democrats? Because you clearly have what it takes to be a leader of that one of those particular parties.
No, I'm not very political.
Yes.
How about a Magic Eye book, Christy? I mean, that would be a couple of weeks of fun for you, it sounds like.
Maybe.
Christy, how old are you, just out of interest?
21.
21.
Yeah.
21. You have a bright future.
Hopefully.
Bright future after rehab. Thank you. Brett from the Pilbara.
Hello.
Brett, what makes you happy apart from the third perspective?
Well, apart from that, first of all, it's a pleasure to talk with you, Stirling.
Yes.
And what makes me
Spencer?
happy... Oh, sorry, Spencer.
That's okay, Brett.
What makes me happy is 9 o'clock on a Sunday night when your show's over.
When it's over.
When it's over or when it's
Of course. 2 hours of this show would make anybody happy. You would feel uplifted by...
And when it's over and we come back to hearing some pleasant radio, that's when I'm really happy.
Excellent.
We are chased by the Sound Lab.
Yes.
Afterwards. Is that what you're talking about 11 p.m. or are you talking about 9 p.m., Brett? Because I understand that in your addled state of mind, often the concept of time can be a tricky one.
How one-eyed of you. I'm in Western Australia.
Yes, WA.
It's at 9 o'clock.
Driving the economic miracle that is Australia, apart from the economic policies of John Howard.
And we have some fine listeners in Western Australia.
Brett, are you engaged in the mining industry?
In fact, I'm on a mine right now.
You're on a mine. What are you mining there?
We're mining iron ore.
And for what company?
I think I should keep that one a secret. We're just pillaging the earth.
Pillaging the earth.
Selling it to the communists.
You're
at
not
the cheapest price.
You're not pillaging the earth. You are yielding its rewards. You are husbanding the earth. You are husbanding the earth, and you are feeding an economic miracle of a former communist nation that has adopted largely capitalistic economic management and is making the world a better place. And you should be proud. You should be proud of that. It's called globalisation, Brett, and it's making the world a better place.
Americanisation is a fantastic thing, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It makes consumer products cheaper.
Liberating this country from some of its fine commodities.
Yes.
And sharing it amongst the world.
Yes, it is.
That's the way he should look at it.
Sharing of wealth. Brett, you are doing a great thing, adding shareholder value to whatever company you are working for. You should be proud of that. And thank you. Jim from Sydney. Jim from Sydney, good evening.
Yes, hello, gentlemen.
Jim, do you hold any shares in a mining company?
No, I don't.
Oh, it's a great time to have them. Have your, whoever manages your portfolio, have them look into that immediately.
Okay.
You need to diversify.
Yes, I wanted to tell you what makes me happy.
What does make you happy, Jim?
Reading the memoirs of Sir Robert Menzies.
Is there anything there about his meeting with Winston Churchill? At Chequers?
I can't remember that part, but I'd like to say that I think our Prime Minister, John Howard, has the potential to be as great as Sir Robert Menzies.
He's certainly shooting for the record. Of course, Menzies was Prime Minister between 1949 and 1966.
Of course, he would have his own TV show as well, Curtain, like Curtain on the ABC.
Yes.
But it would just take so long to get through all the wonderful things that he did.
Electoral triumph after electoral triumph.
And where can you... I mean, he had also that wonderful shock of white hair with the black eyebrows.
Yeah.
The only one I can think of with that in the Australian television industry is Isabel Lucas. And I think she would do a wonderful job.
She would, yes.
And I think John Howard has the potential to become a Sir as well. And he has the eyebrows of Sir Robert Menzies. Maybe he's the love child of Sir Robert Menzies.
Yes. Oh, I'd hope so. And what a Mother's Day he must be having.
Yes.
If that is true.
But I've also heard that Kevin Rudd is the love child of John Howard.
Yes, we could listen all night to your speculation about the parentage of prospective and former leaders of Australia, but we'd be bored to death, Jim. So thanks for calling. Yes, it's time for the truth on Restoring the Balance. 2 hours of it, in fact. Spencer Penrose, myself, Stirling Addison. It is Restoring the Balance. That's anti-clockwise, Mr. Tastemaker. You get a true measure of a person, Spencer, by seeing how they react to a person in need.
That's right.
Now, you will recall 3 weeks ago or so, I set up a fund here, an appeal, to help pay Alan Jones's ridiculous $1,000 fine that he got slapped on him by a fascist broadcasting regulatory body.
It was our idea of holding our hands out for help for a guy who helps others.
Yes, and for a fellow broadcaster who has inspired, I would say, every Triple J broadcaster, everyone on this station.
Every newsreader.
Yes. Of course, this is not admitted publicly, but he is deeply admired, Alan Jones, for being, apart from this show, a conservative commentator constantly under siege, but nonetheless sticking to the truth.
That's right.
And it's my melancholy duty to announce that at the moment, the $1,000 fund has not been reached, obviously. There's only about $37 in there. And $35 of that has come from Kingsmill.
Oh, nice of him to chip in, though.
He said...
But he shouldn't be alone.
He's tithing. He said he's tithing.
10% of his wages.
So we'll get there eventually.
To Alan Jones.
We thought it only respectful to get Alan Jones, the most respected broadcaster in Australia, actually onto the phone. He is a friend of this show. He is a friend of us.
He's a mentor.
He is.
We often sit cross-legged on the carpet at the knee of Alan Jones.
And we wouldn't be the first men to do that, soaking up his wisdom as a sponge. He joins us on the phone now. We are upstanding. Good evening, Alan. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, Spencer, Stirling, thank you very much for inviting me once again on your terrific program. I've just been sitting here cross-legged myself with Mother, watching a bit of South Pacific, which was one of the DVDs in the Alan Jones Recommend series that I got over Mother's Day.
See, this is a man who believes so much in a product, he watches what he recommends.
South Pacific Happy Talk. That's what this show is all about.
Yes.
That's right, Sterling. You'll be happy to know that my assistant's assistant actually sent out to Penny an Alan Jones Recommends double pack of her own, which includes that Judi Dench modern-day classic, Tea with Mussolini, and a remarkable brand new straight-to-DVD release, Cricket with Robert Mugabe. Even though I haven't seen it yet, I'm sure it's extraordinary viewing.
It'll be very hard to get, that one, at the moment. Nonetheless, Alan, we have pointed out that you're still smarting from the $1,000 fine for naming a witness in a murder trial.
It's totally incredulous kind of stuff. Look, naming a witness in a murder trial and a juvenile of that isn't such a bad thing in practice. It not only names and shames the tattletale, but gives an opportunity for the murderer to commit a revenge killing, which I'm sure we all agree is entirely justifiable in some kind of tit-for-tattletale way of retribution. And let me tell you, Sterling, if it's only going to cost me $1,000 per stitch, then I'm going to be doing it a lot more often. Which begs the question, where does the money go? I certainly hope it doesn't go to supplying those dibber-dobbers their nappies, because a nappy-wearing dobbing culture would not only be detrimental to the Australian economy, but will put the entire witness protection program in pull-ups. And that's the kind of super-absorbent anonymity we all just can't afford.
Yes.
Good point. Alan, let's talk about the latest scandal surrounding Jonestown.
Oh, Jonestown. Terrible. Let me tell you, Sterling, Spencer, Chris Masters is clearly out of his depth when it comes to this one. This tome of bar that is Jonestown. Yes. And as my good friend Pierce will tell you, that it's incredibly inaccurate, unremarkable, and there are gaping holes in my past history.
Yes, and you certainly aren't one to be tolerant of gaping holes, Alan. That's not your style.
Definitely not my style, Sterling. You hit the nail on the head there. If there's a goal, if there's a hole, if there's a gap, even if there's a crack, it must be filled, no matter what the size. For starters, there's no mention of my work with underprivileged children in Aboriginal communities. I didn't spend 5 hours in the Tiwi Islands schooling those little brats in Rogers and Hammerstein and Andrew Lloyd Webber to have blatantly admitted from my own unauthorised biography. A book that is erroneous, flawed, wrong, incorrect, tautological, and simply not true.
And now, sadly, up for a nomination of the prestigious New South Wales Premier's Award for Literacy. Isn't that true?
Not to mention, I think I forgot to mention that it's also informative, compelling reading, and really brings to light the behind-the-scenes life of one of this country's greatest broadcasters, me. A book for the whole family. And I will say this, Mr. Yemma is doing incredibly important work in this state for literacy. Incredibly important.
Yes, I urge the New South Wales School Board, indeed the Department of Education in every state, to put it on the required reading list.
Yes.
The required reading list.
Should be in the syllabus.
Yes. We need to get Alan Jones into schools.
Look, I'll tell you, let me tell you this. If it does win the New South Wales Literacy Award, well, if it does, I'll put it on my Alan Jones book club.
You see, this is the sort of man we respect and admire. Thank you very much for joining us, Alan Jones.
My pleasure. And just remember, there's nothing like a dame.
Yes, well said.
Great to have him on the show again.
He will not be silenced. He will. This is what we do on this show. We give Conservatives with no voice a voice, effectively.
That's right.
That is Alan Jones. He can be heard on Sydney Breakfast Radio.
It's the least we can do. It's a platform.
Yes. Restoring the balance on Triple J. We're asking at the moment, the talkback number is 1300 0555 36. What makes you happy? And we have SMSs that have been sent through to 1975 7555. 1975 back in the news this week with Gough Whitlam and the coroner's court.
Rightly in court.
In court, yes.
Lying.
Should have been charged with murder. 1975, of course, the year of the invasion of Timor by Gough Whitlam's fellow travellers, the communist regime of Indonesia.
That's right.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes.
Good to see him in court over all that.
Yes, we have some SMSs. Is there this is from Dane, is there some sort of restoring the balance merchandise available, maybe a beer cooler, a singlet? Yes, because when you think of a young Liberal and a Family First member, you can immediately conjure up the image of beer coolers and singlets. That would, of course, be a uniform.
Wouldn't it be more of a snifter to put the cognac in?
Yes, or a spittoon.
Yes.
A singlet. If it's made in Savarow, possibly a singlet. We're not singlet wearers. We turn up for... This is a job. We turn up in a three-piece suit. A singlet.
Maybe we could cut off little pieces of the three-piece suit, Yoko Ono style, and sell them in bits and pieces to Triple J listeners.
Who would not be able to afford them.
That's right.
There's another SMS, you make me happy, lovely men. That I can only assume is us.
Not from Penny?
No. Speaking of which, it being Mother's Day, we raised this particular topic a couple of weeks ago about women having careers. And we're all for women having careers on this show, so long as those careers are terminated at the altar.
That's right.
We see nothing wrong with women mixing in the workplace, having careers that, like the Prime Minister's daughters, are put on hold as soon as they become pregnant.
That's right, and we like women to leave the workplace as soon as they have a baby because we need the bulletin board space. Yes. Because often women in the workplace, photos everywhere.
Yes.
They take up all the room.
Yes.
And so we need some of that space to open up for everyone else.
You'll find an estrogen-soaked workplace less productive. There are, of course, tantrums about missed shoe sales, arguments over Jane Austen novel adaptations, these sorts of things.
A lot of crying in the workplace.
Yes.
And a lot of talk about whether women can have it all these days, career and children. Why can't children be the career?
Beautifully put. And we put this problem to women. The glass ceiling, when you look at a glass ceiling, you're looking up a woman's skirt, which is why they are not above the glass ceiling, because that would be perving.
That's true. And it's also smudged.
Yeah, yes. So. The problem, and I found this with Penny this week, I was holding forth on the Pope's tour of South America, where he of course, has come out against prophylactics and condoms. And Penny, out of nowhere, and this surprised me, with her she expressed a vehement opposition to condoms, and then says she prefers bareback. Well, now, I don't know how she went from discussing condoms to equestrian events.
Either can I. I don't know. It's strange, isn't it? Sometimes, often matters of spirituality and principle can make even opposing sides become strange bedfellows.
Yes.
And speaking of strange bedfellows, how is Penny?
She is very... We are enduring a chaste courtship, which is why it surprised me that she even had an opinion on birth control, being as virginal as I am. Nonetheless, look, we are asking... What are we asking about women?
What is wrong with this country?
Yes.
That all women aren't mothers. Why is that not the case?
Why has motherhood become suddenly unsexy? Why has Julia Gillard's example poisoned the sanctity of motherhood for so many women?
What is wrong with celebrating the woman who shuns a career?
Yes.
In favour of raising children?
A woman who does so is a hero, is a modern hero. And not only that, but vacates the workplace for a man, steps back and lets a man hopefully fill that vacancy.
Well, you would hope so.
We don't need women being breadwinners. It simply distorts the social equation.
That's true.
We're asking why aren't more women making a career as a homemaker? That's what we're asking.
That's right.
Maybe you'd care to weigh in on this. 1300 0555 36. Why is being a housewife so unsexy, apparently? Julia Gillard has a lot to answer for. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. Restoring the Balance on Triple J. One day we'll be able to program the music.
I look forward to it.
Yes.
And can't wait for that. DC Talk, Amy Grant.
Yes, something uplifting with a positive message. The very antithesis of the Chemical Brothers do it again.
We are the Conservative Brothers.
Yes.
We're doing it every Sunday night.
Chemical of sorts. What we are bringing to you is the toxic truth. Handle it with gloves on.
That's right.
We're asking, why has the sanctity of motherhood been besmirched by left-wing, we could say lesbians, we could say feminists who want to destroy the family and implant in women the unrealistic expectation that they can have a career and be mothers at the same time? We're saying it's one or the other. We would prefer not career. We would say there are exciting vacancies opening up in every household in Australia for women who want to devote themselves to the career of motherhood.
That's right.
It's there. There are inducements, the baby bonus, that sort of thing. We've asked for callers on this, 1300 0555 36. We have mainly men. We're about to go to them. We have mainly men calling. The women who are listening at home, we're asking, why are you not carrying children? Why are you not looking after children? Why are you not foregoing a career which does not overall benefit the economy? Let work be a male job.
That's right.
We're saying we would value your feedback on this, and you don't need your male partner's permission to pick up the phone.
No, all we want to hear is, why are you not keeping the home fires burning?
1300 0555 36. Duncan from Newcastle.
Hello.
How are you, Duncan, from the former steel town of Newcastle?
Yes, mate. I'm a former Canberra gentleman.
Yes.
I'd just like to get that clear. I also am a young Liberal, mate. So
excellent.
Don't put me in the basket with these steel people, please.
Well, that's not. We've moved beyond the blue collar votes Labor paradigm.
Let's speak about women at home.
Yes. And
I've got a little lady. We're getting married soon.
Excellent.
When she's pumping out little ones, I know where she'll be, mate.
And where will that be?
It won't be in the workplace.
Excellent.
Well, it'll be in a workplace.
Yes.
In the workplace at home.
How many children do you intend to have, Duncan?
Well, I'm not Catholic, but I dare say a tribe.
A tribe?
Really?
A tribe. Well, fair
enough.
The
more the merrier, I say.
Yes. Well,
and of course, the baby bonus, lots of baby bonuses coming your way.
It's not about the baby bonus, mate. Trust me on that one.
Yes.
It should be abolished. That's something else that, the people who are having these children for the simple baby bonus is, let's go back to the way things used to be. The man works, the women are at home. It worked for years.
It worked for generations.
Yeah.
Generations in our economic prosperity of the 50s and 60s was based upon an economic model, if you will, of just that. Duncan, we spoke earlier about the baby bonus only going to married couples, married heterosexual couples. What do you think of that idea?
It should be only going to heterosexual couples who are married, and it should be getting paid to the man, really. He's the one who should be in charge of the finances, I do believe.
And what will you do with the first payment, Duncan? Do you have any ideas for the money?
I'd probably go out with the boys, I think, have a few drinks and have a talk and have a think.
Golf clubs, something
possibly,
like that.
Possibly. There'd definitely be golf buggies involved.
Yes.
Wet the baby's head.
Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Duncan, if you'd like to see Duncan, hopefully you're helping your local member in the upcoming federal election, handing out how to vote cards for your local member. Is that correct, Duncan? You will be doing that?
Yes, I am definitely doing that. Yes, I'm registered, and I'm looking forward to getting the phone call, actually, to let me know when it's going to be.
And your wife, of course, would understand if you were handing out how to vote cards and cigars on polling day, rather than being with her.
Oh, they've got to be Monte Cristos.
Yes,
for sure.
Thank you, Duncan.
Duncan, our very own man of steel, on the ground there in Newcastle.
The future of the party in very good hands as young Liberal. Cameron from Cheltenham.
Good evening, fellas. How are you?
Very well, Cameron. We're asking why women are not viewing stay-at-home motherhood, if you will, as an exciting career option or alternative.
Well, it all comes back to the line where I think you mentioned something earlier about how they don't see themselves as being attractive.
I don't think we did say that, but do you want to develop the point?
Yeah, look, I was concentrating more on the part, like they're confined to a house for, say, 12 to 18 hours a day in some places with children around them until they grow up enough to go to school and go out and make their own way into the real world.
Yes.
And some days they feel unattractive. Now I think they need some sort of scheme to pick up their self-esteem a bit because they're stuck at home with kids.
Well, I'd very much like to see that, and I'm sure you're with me there, Stirling, because when you come home you would like some effort to be made.
I don't see why. I mean, I go to work. I work at least 6 hours a day. And there's often a prolonged lunch break in the middle of the day. Now, I can handle that and manage to keep my tie on, my Windsor knot where it should be, my blazer buttoned or unbuttoned. I manage to shave every day. I don't understand why looking after 4 or 5 children precludes a woman or prevents a woman from maintaining an attractive hairstyle, from wearing makeup, from wearing an adequate but not a slutty amount of lipstick or eyeshadow. I don't know why correct nail maintenance is foregone for the sake of washing dishes or changing nappies.
Why comfortable stay-at-home shoes are not replaced with high heels.
There's simply no excuse. Do you agree with that, Cameron?
Exactly. Exactly. Like they say, a man's home is his castle.
Yes.
And if you own the castle, these people should live under your rules.
Yes.
Rules and guidelines should be standard. Sometimes rules are meant to be broken. You must allow for that.
Well, yes. I only agree with that at tax time. Yes. Thank you, Cameron.
Before I go, I must tell you, I'm a Liberal voter too.
Excellent. Great. Excellent. Fellow Liberal voter, we should say. We should, I suppose it's only fair to talk to a woman on this. It would be enjoyable to get...
it would be nice.
Tonya from Port Lincoln in South Australia.
Hello.
Good evening, Tonya.
How are you?
How is Port Lincoln this evening?
Oh, Port Lincoln is cruising.
Yes, a big fishing... centre of fishing.
It certainly is.
Port Lincoln.
More millionaires per capita than any other town in Australia. Is that right, Tonya?
Apparently so, so I'm not one of them.
Yes. Tuna, of course, has been very kind. You have been reaping the sea of its fruit.
Yes, well, not me personally because I'm not a fish eater. But
yes. And how about Santic? How's he going?
Tony, actually...
He's in a bit of trouble.
Yes. Well, you'd probably know more than me because I heard recently that he was on the... the story was in the local paper and I actually missed it all. So
Well, to fill you in, he is, of course, the owner of seveal Melbourne Cup winners.
Oh, sorry, I know who he is.
Yes.
I actually know who he is. But,
yes, he's in the midst of a divorce.
I hear, yes.
$100 million.
Yes.
$100 million.
A lot of Maccabee Diva money.
Yes. Now, Tonya, explain to us your situation in life.
Okay, well... Personally, I am a single mum of 2 children. I'm a bastard. My children are bastards.
Yes. So in your case, the bastardry is hereditary.
Yes.
It's passed on. It's matrilineal.
Yes, you could say that.
It's matrilineal. Yes. It comes from the mother's side.
Yes.
Nonetheless.
No, on the father's side, the father... Oh, anyway, we won't go there.
Let's not let this degenerate into male hatred. Tonya, obviously you weren't good enough to keep the man.
Oh, obviously not, no.
Let's not blame him.
No,
he was there for the conception.
Well, he was. He did such a hard job at it,
yes.
and
it often
worked, and he poor bugger just couldn't cope anymore and had to go, and
yes. Tonya, then, as a single mum, do you work or do you stay at home and look after your 2 bastard children?
No, I stay home and look after, but actually only one bastard child. The other one's actually moved out. He's gone to live with my mum.
Yes.
Oh, dear.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Now, do you think women should give up careers as soon as they have children?
Oh, most definitely.
Yes.
Not.
Most definitely not.
Oh,
Why
okay.
not?
Not. No. Look, in all honesty, I think each female is different, let alone each mother.
Yes.
If they choose to stay home and enjoy their children while they can, why not? Because as you guys know, and myself knows, once you grow up, you're not a child anymore, you can't be a child anymore. Enjoy the childhood while you can, maybe.
Well, one could argue that in the formative years, in the years before children attend school and even into the teenage years, that the child can benefit from a stay-at-home mother.
Yes.
What would your thoughts be on that, Tonya?
Certainly. No, I totally agree with that. I mean, I'll certainly be looking for work myself in the next couple of months. My youngest is old enough now. He's at school. I need to go out and find work. But personally, if it was my eldest son, because I have a teenager who's all but 18,
yes,
to leave him home to look after the younger one, or to do these things while mum's out working, couldn't do it.
And being a single mum,
my children would murder one another.
And being a single mum, have you had a variety of quote unquote uncles come over and look after the young'un?
Only their uncles.
Who's on the scene there, Tonya?
Actually, I've got my partner on the scene, who's not an uncle.
Yes.
But and who I must admit is an avid Triple J listener. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't even be ringing you, because I personally didn't get into Triple J until we got together.
Now, Tonya, I was going to point to the connection between the fact that you are a single mother and the fact that you have embraced the bra-burning view of radical feminism in that women should have careers. But I won't do that because you actually have a partner, which surprises us.
Well, a partner that lives away, mind you. He lives about an hour and a half drive from me.
Is that because he can't stand your one-eyed fanatical feminist views?
Oh, of course.
Yes.
Is he away at sea?
Well, close to the sea. He lives on the coast, so that's close enough. But no, not a fisherman as such. But
doesn't have a Tonya in every port?
Yes.
Oh, probably. I don't know, to tell you the truth.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to frighten you there.
No, that's all right.
Tonya, how old is your youngest?
My youngest is 9.
And as we know in Port Lincoln, that is the legal drinking age. So he's probably out giving the pre-mixed bourbon and colas a nudge this evening.
Hey, because you said bourbon, I don't mind that.
Yes, exactly. See, as a single mother, she has no idea where her 9-year-old is.
No,
ask Tonya, she
not.
won't know. She won't know.
No, he'll be out there somewhere walking the streets. I'll have someone knocking on my door soon going, here he is.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, not a problem.
But I bet you know where he is on pension day when you have to produce him to pick up the welfare.
And clearly she's lost custody of the 17-year-old.
Actually, I haven't. He's actually in my lounge room at the moment. He comes home every weekend.
Whatever story floats with you, Tonya.
Yeah, that's it, guys.
Yes, thank you, Tonya, for joining us.
Thank you.
And for so adequately confirming a stereotype. Yes. This is Restoring the Balance on Triple J. And we've often prided ourselves on being on Restoring the Balance, being the only truly alternative show on a station that thinks it's conservative.
That's right.
that thinks it's alternative. That thinks it's alternative.
That's right.
We truly are alternative.
They always bang on about unearthing this person and that person, but really we've just unearthed an absolute, in the mud, in the mud, we pulled out of the mud and we found a little diamond.
Yes.
In the Wright brothers.
Yes.
We have broken them wide open for the Australian audience.
That is one of 2 songs that we will be hearing this evening, and it is now our privilege and an honour to welcome onto the phone from America Aaron Sane and Frank Hyland, who are the Wright brothers.
Well, I started to say good morning, but good evening to you.
It is good evening, Aaron and Frank. Now, what part of America do we find you in at the moment?
Nashville, Tennessee.
Tennessee, the bosom of the conservative heartland.
7:30 in the morning, and that's pretty early for some musicians, let me tell you.
Well, not ones who hold conservative viewpoints, because they are clean, they are sober, they are hardworking, and playing music is a job, is it not?
That's exactly right.
It's also a passion and a love. So
yeah.
Can you tell us, Aaron, how the band started and what the reaction to the Wright brothers has been?
The way we got started was actually Frank and myself were, songwriters here in Nashville, which of course I guess, most of your listeners know. It's where most of the country music comes from.
Yes.
And we were writing quite a bit of country music as well as some pop and rock.
But, becoming best friends, we found ourselves, during our writing appointments, we would talk about, obviously, things that interested us or whatever. Well, politics obviously just took over because we were both so passionate about the, conservatism. And Frank actually came in one day with a song idea called Hey Hollywood, and we wrote it, a song about asking Hollywood to, not that they couldn't have an opinion, but rather that when they do express that opinion, and half of America chooses to boycott the movie or not buy their product, to stop the whining.
Yes.
Words do have consequences. And we wrote and recorded this song just on a whim, posted it on a website, and within 72 hours we had 35,000 downloads, and the Wright brothers were born.
The music industry is notoriously left-leaning. How do you find that your music is received amongst your peers?
Well, here in Nashville, it's about 50-50 conservative and liberal, and everybody's pretty cool about it. We haven't had anybody be ugly to us or anything, or felt any backlash.
Not in the industry, of course. Now outside the industry, the response has been, while it's the same in that we have basically half the country that loves what we do and half that don't. The half that don't tend to be rather verbal and saying all sorts of words and death threats and all sorts of things we can't repeat on the air. They have a tendency to want to make personal attacks, of course, rather than discuss the issues.
Aaron, listening to the Wright brothers, I'd imagine seeing them live, we have finally found an antidote to the poison and filth being spread by the Dixie Chicks.
All I can say is amen. You got it.
Yes. Right. So instead of the president, the commander-in-chief, being rubbished overseas, we can expect him to be lauded and celebrated by the Wright brothers.
What we will celebrate are the things where he is true to conservatism. We love our president. We're loyal to him. At the same time, we are conservatives first and foremost. Obviously Americans first, but since we're talking partisanship this morning,
yes.
And where he is, where he's strayed a little bit, we wish he would come back to this, to the right just a little bit.
Yes.
But yeah, he's our president, and I saw a bumper sticker actually yesterday. Guy in front of me, and it said, "He's not my president." And I'm like, yeah, dude, he really is your president, And I had the same sort of respect for the office when Clinton or whoever was in, regardless of how I felt about him personally. He was my president.
Yes.
And have you received word back from the great man on what he thinks of your music?
We have not. The only thing that we heard is there was a friend of ours at a press conference, a White House press conference, in D.C., and he started off the press conference by thanking us and thanking this gentleman who was there for the song.
Yes.
And that's all we know.
I think they played the song there too. Bush was right.
Yeah.
So we're thinking that he knows about it, but we don't know for sure.
Frank, are there any plans afoot to write a stirring tribute to Australia's cooperation with America in the ongoing war against terror and specifically our ongoing combat commitment in Iraq?
It's not a bad idea. When we were writing Bush Was Right, at the end where we were saying, Condi was right.
Yes.
All those people. At first
Cheney
we were
was
listing
right.
Cheney. At first we were listing the countries, and it was Australia, Japan,
yes.
and on and so like that. But we wound up not doing that. But
mainly because they just didn't sing well. They sounded funny, So.
Yes. Well, what rhymes with Australia? I guess failure, and that would be France. French foreign policy, French military history, that sort of thing. Are there any?
Yeah, there you go.
Yes. Are there any plans to tour in America? And can those of us who yearn for melodic conservatism, is there any chance that we'll see you in Australia?
Bring it. Tell us you got enough people for us to play to, and we're there. As far as the states go. We're trying our best right now to set up a college tour, actually, for this fall. We're trying to not only just reach conservatives with this music, we're making a really big push this year to, reach out to the young people.
Yes.
And we've actually got a little slogan we've been using ourselves. We're trying to turn the conservative nerdship around. Do you guys use the word nerd there? You know what I'm saying when I say a nerd?
Yes.
And conservatives are not nerds. but they've been perceived that way for so long. It's been perceived that the left is the cool, hip, happening rock generation, and the right are just a bunch of nerds, and we're trying to turn that stereotype around.
Yes. Lastly, gun control. Are you able to bring along a gun to a Wright Brothers concert?
If the laws allow, bring them on.
Only if you're a conservative.
Yes.
That's where most of the death threats come from. They want to know, where we're playing next because they want to come take us out in the middle of a show. So.
You'd want to be doing a good show. That would be immediate feedback, 9mm.
That's right.
Rapid fire. Now we've heard Bush's right. It was a stirring call to arms. We're about to hear the song "I Want to Live." Aaron, would you expand on the themes in "I Want to Live"?
It is, first of all, it's very appropriate on Mother's Day.
Yes.
It's appropriate all 365 days of the year, but certainly today. It's a song that addresses pro-adoption even more than it does anti-abortion.
Yes.
And the song is sung as if the unborn baby is the one doing the singing.
Yes. Is it sung to Angelina Jolie?
No.
No. Where are we able to buy the music by the Wright Brothers? Is it available online?
It is online.
Please tell us where, Frank.
Yes, I'm sorry?
Where would we buy it online, Frank?
It's at therightbrothers.com, RIGHT brothers.com. That's the only place right now.
Well, and also iTunes.
Okay.
Yeah.
iTunes. It has been an absolute pleasure to speak to you, your morning, our evening. That's Aaron Sane and Frank Highland. Frank, would you like to intro the song that we're about to play?
Sure. Well, it's a issue that is near and dear to us, and we feel like we need to change hearts before we can change minds, and that's what this song is meant to do.
Beautifully put. Conservative rock that is cool. That's for the nerds out there. This is cool. It is the Wright Brothers. Thank you very much for joining us, Aaron Sane and Frank Highland from the Wright Brothers.
Thank you,
Thanks, guys. We love you.
Restoring the Balance on Triple J with Spencer Penrose from the Family First Party, myself, Stirling Addison, Young Liberal. The songs we heard, the Wright Brothers. Spencer, don't expect to see good conservative rock made a feature album of the week here on Triple J.
Would never happen.
It just won't.
But I dare say that last song was a feature song.
It certainly
was. A song
was.
from the feature album.
Yes, The Beautiful Girls, I Thought About You.
Everyone in the band a guy.
Yes.
So what are Triple J saying by playing that as the feature album?
On Mother's Day. Yes.
That they want all men to be women? I mean, what can we do? All the male announcers already do the tug around the office while they're doing the shift to appease the feminine mafia.
Yes.
To contribute to the feminisation of this once great broadcaster.
Yes. As we speculated earlier, will we see our children grow up in Lesbianistan, where a licence is needed to own and use a penis? It's a question we could easily put to Betina Arndt, psychologist, author, columnist, social commentator. She joins us because it is Mother's Day, and we thought it apt to explore the changing role of motherhood in Australia and amongst Australian women. Betina, thank you very much for joining us.
It's a pleasure.
Betina, can you describe Mother's Day for you?
Oh, no. I think Mother's Day is a bit of a sort of commercial con, really.
Yes.
But I suppose you make the most of it as a mother. And my son washed my car today, which was a great achievement.
Did he do it in contravention of any water law active in your state?
No, used a bucket. It was fine.
Excellent.
Betina, you're a woman, from your limited perspective. What would your picture of the ideal mother be in the year 2007?
Well, I don't think there's any such thing as an ideal mother. I mean, mothers muddle through and do the best job they can, and most of them have a lot of fun in the process. I mean, I think it is one of the great jobs in life to be a mother.
Yes.
How about Julia Gillard, the comments about her a couple of weeks ago by Senator Bill Heffernan, taken out of context, obviously?
Yeah, pretty stupid comment. I mean, because one of the things one never knows is whether people end up not being mothers by choice, or whether it's a sort of series of accidents. And I mean, that's what the evidence tends to suggest, that most women who end up not being mothers don't make a deliberate decision to do so. It's just happenstance, really, not having the right man at the right time, not being in the right relationship, putting things off until it becomes too late, and so on. And I think it's a rather sad thing for most women to miss out on that, but some make a very deliberate decision and are very happy with that. Is
Julia Gillard stabbing all women in the back by not having children?
Not at all. I mean, I hope it was a decision she made and that she's happy with. That's fine. It's really important that women who choose not to be mothers and make a deliberate decision to, to enjoy being single or to enjoy being in a relationship without kids should be supported in making that decision. It's not compulsory motherhood, thank goodness.
Well, would it be a bad thing if it were?
Absolutely. I mean, there's always going to be women, for instance, who can't have children, and why should we make them feel lousy about themselves?
Well, they could adopt a black orphan.
Oh, well, that's a thought.
Yes. Betina,
not many black orphans around, unfortunately.
Well, I think Angelina Jolie's cornered the market there, yes.
Yeah, you have to travel halfway across the world to find them, yeah.
Betina, the dream of having the career and a family, is it unattainable for women? Is it has a false image been sold to the female gender?
Oh, not at all. I think it's quite possible to have careers and families. I mean, ideally you might have a husband who would take up the slack if you want to have a very full-on career. I think there's a real problem in having, two brain surgeons in the family, in having two people who are totally committed to forging ahead in their careers if you want to have children. That's the real problem.
But you say it is possible, but is it preferable? There are some who would argue it's not.
I don't think it's great for kids if they have two. I mean, I'm a great believer that you can have one parent, really committed to their work, and that's fine, provided you've got someone else who's willing to be there a lot more for the children. I think it's really hard when both are equally committed to their children and committed to their careers, and why they're having kids in that case.
What about this FOP brigade of stay-at-home fathers that we're seeing more and more of? Seems to be quite a disturbing trend.
Mr. Moms.
No, I think it's a good trend. I mean, I think lots of men enjoy having some time out from the rat race and spending time with children. Not all, and some find it very tough. Some think it's going to be great, and it's find it isn't so great. I think it's a lot harder for men to do that than for women.
Are you worried in that case of stay-at-home fathers that their penises eventually wither and fall off?
They might get a lot more activity.
Well, I doubt that.
No, it's quite possible. The woman may be very appreciative about the fact that he's home doing all the chores. I mean, if it's a woman who makes that choice and likes being in the workforce, to come home to a man who's done all the work but she doesn't want to do that, she might reward him thoroughly for that.
I'm of the opinion that once the baby is born, if there is a stay-at-home father in the picture, when they cut the umbilical cord, they should too go to the genitalia and do the old snip there, because he won't be using that for a long, long time.
Betina, your thoughts?
Whenever a child is born.
Yes.
Yeah, so in a stay-at-home father situation.
Not necessarily. A stay-at-home father situation.
Yeah, you would agree.
No. Come on. There's some guys who are coping with that role and having a very good time and doing a really good job. I think it's tough. I do think so. One of the issues being that women, we don't trust men. We don't trust men. So a man who's home with his children is not going to be invited over to join the girls at the play dates and hang around it's harder for him to hang around the playgrounds with the mums and have a good... Because that's the fun of being a mother, to have other mothers and to share some of the sort of tedious aspects of being with children. It's lovely to do it in a group with other women.
And back to Julia...
And it's hard for men to fit into that, I think.
Yes. Back to Julia Gillard. And Australia rightly is suspicious of women who haven't had children.
Yes.
Is it right to have the question... When do you think that question mark will fade away when it comes to childrenless women?
I don't think that's... I don't think people are suspicious of women who don't have children anymore, and that's a very good thing. I think we're much more tolerant of people making different decisions, and we do understand that it's not necessarily a decision, and therefore we believe in minding... Most of us believe in minding our own business about, how people end up in that situation. Because it may be a very tragic story for some people, and we don't want to intrude on that.
Does it not scare you that a childless woman could have her hand on the nuclear trigger?
No, but I also think there are some issues here, because I think some lousy decisions were made, for instance, by
between 83 and 96.
the Labour Party when it was dominated by the sort of Ann Summers of the world,
yes,
who had no interest in the issues that really affected most ordinary mums who do take time out of the workforce to be home with their kids. And we saw a long period under Labour where that very little was done to support the decision that's made by most women, which is to spend some time in their life at home with kids.
Well, what do you think of those who demonise women who choose a career as a stay-at-home mother? And there is some vilification of those who are seen to make an anti-feminist choice.
Well, I wouldn't see it as an anti-feminist choice. I think modern feminism embraces all those choices, and it was just some peculiar period of our history where feminism became so locked up in a sort of determined view of how women should live their lives, and I think most feminists have moved on from that.
Yes, Betina.
And see that that's a perfectly legitimate choice to make, but it's not necessarily. I mean, it's not a choice women make for their whole lives. They often just do that for a period of their lives.
Yes.
And then they go back to the workforce, and that's terrific.
Thank you, Betina. I'll ask you, as a woman, not to interrupt a man when he's speaking. Thank you, Betina, for joining us.
Oh, nice to talk to you.
Yeah, of course it is. This is Restoring the Balance. Spencer, thank you as always.
My apologies for the word childrenless. It doesn't actually exist. Childless was the word I was after. I was distracted by Betina Arndt's wily female ways.
She did seduce us both. Restoring the Balance will return next week. Thank you for joining us.
Triple J.